Selfie World. My name is Zoe. We have a special guest here, Mr. Ricc Rollins, and we're going places today.
Thanks a lot, Zoe. If you're ever in West Shore Plaza, you need to come to Selfie World and get your Insta on. Here's what's coming up on today's show. Take a look. Friend to the show and AAA representative Mark Jenkins talks to us about insurance and hurricane preparedness. Dr. Nabuki talks about pets and manners. Coach Julie's back and she's using bands to show us how we can be fit in 5. And transition coach and first daughter to the show, Jessica Ryan Rollins joins us to talk about transitioning from high school to college and from junior to senior year in our 4-part series geared towards young adults and their parents. All of this and more as Going Places starts, you guessed it, right now. Hurricane season, we're in it, and here to help us weather our way through it, no pun intended, is Mark Jenkins from AAA. Thanks for being with us again, my friend. 2 weeks in a row, we got to stop meeting like this.
Hey, well, I mean, I think this is a great cause because it's all about preparing for hurricane season, and it's something that you have to be ready for sure.
You know, we are in Florida, and Florida is one of the hurricane capitals, if you will.
Mhm.
So what should we do to be prepared in this season, Mark?
I think it really starts with insurance, making sure that you have adequate coverage because hurricanes can do damage, of course, as we know, to your home, but also to your vehicle. It can even sidetrack your travel plans. So having adequate coverage will help you get that peace of mind knowing that you're ready for whatever Mother Nature throws at you.
And when you say travel, I think of travel insurance, and some people go, we don't need that pish posh. So I'm hearing you that you would recommend that we do get some kind of travel insurance to insure just in case we can't go.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it right now, there's already, some storms that are brewing in the Gulf Coast, in the Gulf of Mexico, and then, a lot of hurricanes form right in the middle of the summer travel season. And these hurricanes can impact your travel plans, whether that means causing flight delays, flight cancellations, or affecting, your trip itself.
That's true.
So travel insurance can help you, depending on the policy, compensate you for those flight delays, cancellations, out-of-pocket expenses associated with those things, but also some of those non-refundable deposits that you might, have to face if, for instance, you are unable to make it to your destination or even miss out on some of those excursions.
That's very true. That's very true. So there we go. You can't just, reading is everything. Reading is fundamental. Read the fine print, know what kind of insurance policy you have, make sure that it is legit. Talk to the airlines if necessary, talk to the cruise lines if necessary, and see what they recommend. So insurance is one. What's next, Mark?
Well, also preparing your home. So kind of doing an evaluation of your property, trimming the trees and ensuring that you don't have a lot of loose items out there, particularly as the storm is approaching, but also taking inventory of what is inside your home, all your valuables. Walk through the home, taking pictures, video of your belongings, and documenting what you have, serial numbers, things like that. That way, if you do have to file a claim after a storm passes, that'll make things a lot easier for you to put all those valuables on your claim so you can ensure that you're getting compensation.
Exactly. And I always recommend to people, even though it seems like it's painstaking, taking pictures of the receipts and keeping a file of that digitally and in the cloud so that because if they ask for it, you need to be able to prove that you purchased it. So
Yep.
good. Next.
Well, I mean, I think that going back to insurance, flood insurance is extremely important. And the unfortunate thing is not a lot of homeowners realize that their homeowner's policy does not cover flooding. And the thing is that some people think that just because they don't live in a high risk flood zone that they can't incur flooding. I mean, you could have poor grading in your backyard and that causes standing water to rise. And if that rising water gets into your home, then that's going to cause damage to your home and your homeowner's insurance policy will not cover that. So now is really the time to consider flood insurance. And the reason why is because there's a 30-day waiting period on new policies. So if you wait until a storm is brewing off in the Atlantic somewhere, it'll be too late because chances are that's going to arrive within 30 days or less.
That's very, very true. I think that oftentimes everybody's trying to find the most cost-effective way to do this. And sometimes cost effective is not the best way, because when you need the insurance, and one of the things that one of my friends who works insurance says, that well, we have to remember that insurance only, they're not trying to bring you back to your best uh existence, but taking you from where you were. So that's another thing, that's another misnomer that people have about insurance, but you still need it, especially in Florida. So I think that that's important. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, most definitely, particularly since, just 1 inch of water in your home could result in about $25,000 in damage. And I mean, it only gets higher and higher as the water level rises. And the reality is, a lot of folks last year during hurricane season, Hurricane Ian passing through, and even earlier this year with some of the record flooding that we saw down in South Florida, a lot of folks thought that they might have been okay. They didn't necessarily need flood insurance, but many of them suffered flood damage.
Yeah,
And a lot of them didn't have flood insurance. And so they had to rely on, a small business loan or something like that they had to pay back. But flood
exactly.
insurance, the type of payment that you receive does not have to be paid back.
Right. And when you said they thought they would be okay, I think that if we transition into what to do during this storm, there are a lot of people who want to ride it out to protect that
Mhm.
property. If you have the insurance, if something happens, you don't have to stay there trying to hold on to the property in the process, or securing the property. Do what you can and get out, because
Absolutely.
there are a lot of people, they lose their lives trying to hold on to stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the sad part. And in fact, we surveyed Floridians recently and found that about 3/4 of them said that they would heed evacuation warnings for a hurricane, but that means that there's about a quarter of Floridians who say they would stay put. And some of the reasons that they cited was that they want to stay in case there's damage to their home or their property. Another thing is that they can't bring their pets, or they believe just that the storm would pass and turn away from their direction. I mean, all of these things are really risky. I mean, that means that you're staying in the path of potentially deadly storm. And
Exactly.
oftentimes these storms might not seem like much, but as they approach, they get stronger and stronger. I mean, you think back to Hurricane Michael a few years ago when it made landfall in the Gulf of Mexico, or along Panama City area.
Mhm.
That was like a category 3, but then as it got closer to the coast, it swelled into a category 4, and there were some measurements that show that it was actually a category 5 strength as it made landfall. And a lot of folks just weren't ready for that.
They were not. Yeah.
Yeah, so being prepared, ensuring that you have adequate coverage right now, and
Mm.
being prepared right now is critical
It
for
is.
enabling you to make the smart decision, feel good about evacuating when the time is right.
And you bring up an excellent point. Last week on Going Places, we talked with Dr. Nabuki, our pet vet, and he talked about hurricane preparedness, making sure you know what shelter, what hotel will take your pet, because you don't want to leave. That's like an extension of your family, or part of your family for some people who don't have kids. And so you need to make sure. And I hear you saying this: oh, be prepared, be prepared. And that's something that you need to know: what shelter, what hotel, what relative, even if you decide to
Mhm.
leave, well, who's gonna let Fido or Fluffy come with them? So that's very good. That's very good.
And that's a great point too, because you want to have a few different options in different
Right.
regions, right? Because you just don't really know which the storm is not necessarily going to hit the same spot every time or come from the
Exactly.
same direction. And you definitely don't want to, go to one spot if the storm is just going to, head further inland and hit you. But I had a few different options based on which direction the storm is moving.
Welcome back to this edition of Going Places. We're back here at Royal Pets, and of course, this is Dr. Nabuki.
How's it going?
And we have, if you were watching last week, you saw Luna. Well, this is Chula,
Yep.
her sister.
Her sister. Yeah,
Yes,
and Chula is 2 years old. And she is also a Frenchie, also known as a French Bulldog.
Okay, so today we're talking about pets and manners.
Yes.
So what, when you
Very
think of-
important for animals and humans.
So yes, it is. Yes, it is. Mom always said you gotta have good manners.
That's right.
So, Trula, you gotta have good manners, okay?
Yeah.
You gotta have good manners.
She's doing great.
She's doing a
Doing-
great job.
doing
She
so
says
good.
she even paused before she licks it. I don't know if you want me to lick you. Okay. So see, good manners. So let's talk about it. What are considered good manners?
So really, for a pet, to do what they're being told and what they're being instructed, and usually that's going to involve a leash and a collar so you can guide them when you're walking them. And when you're walking, usually they're right next to you, so it's a partnership as you're walking. You don't want them ahead, you don't want them behind. And then when you're out and about in the city, you don't want them barking at every single other dog or other humans, unless you need them for protection and stuff. That's different. But in general, if you're going to be walking them out and about, they need to behave and have good manners. Yes.
So I noticed that a lot of people want to take their pets everywhere.
Yes, they do.
Okay. Now, I love pets. I don't take my pet everywhere. Well, I don't have a pet right now, but when I had a pet, he didn't go everywhere with me. He went where we went. When we had our places. But I noticed that some of those pets do not have good manners. And so that, to me, that's, if there was a pet peeve, that would be it. It is that your pet has really awful manners. So people, I noticed that some of them will have on service dog gear. Others do not. And so is there, and I think where I'm going with this is there something that I should be able to say to them when I notice that it is not a service animal?
So that's a really tough subject because it escapes me right now. But there are actually only two questions that you can ask for a service animal. One of which is, what task does the dog perform to help you? And again, sorry, the second question escapes me. But beyond that, really, they're just answering that. But they could be telling you the truth. They could be lying.
So,
and there's not much, as an individual human you can do about that, unless you're a police officer or something like that.
Because pets coming in my store that's sniffing around the leg of my mannequin makes me nervous. You know, because now there are some pets, they come in, they're well behaved. And I think that for me, if you're well behaved, I don't care. But if your dog is I never seen anybody brought a cat. The man did bring a snake in one day, and I was like,
We've had people bring in cats, they walk them in, I'm like, whoa, that's a brave cat, because there's a lot of dogs around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cat's like, yo, don't mess with me. But, I don't mean to go off subject, but I just know that it is such a tricky subject when it comes to,
it is.
So I think that my point is that there should be, if you're going to carry that animal out in public, that animal should be well mannered.
Yeah.
Because it's not fair to the people who are not expecting pets in the mall.
Yeah. Well, I talk to a lot of pet parents, about their pets, and I definitely emphasize training. Not only we had a video about this a little while ago. Skill-based training versus behavioral training.
Yeah, it was last week.
And
or 2 weeks ago.
And behavioral training, a lot of people do the skill-based because they're like sit, stay. They like the commands. But the behavioral part of it, which is really getting your pet to have good manners and also not to have anxiety and stuff in certain situations, a lot of people skip over that. And so I emphasize that. That is the most important thing for your dog, especially if they have anxiety, but also if you're going to be taking your dog everywhere with you, is to really get some of that training just to make sure that they are calm, collected, they're not barking at everyone, and they're also having a good time as well.
Because maybe they don't want to go.
Yeah.
Maybe they want to stay at home.
Yeah, you got to read their body language. You really got to read it. And the other thing too, though, is you're bringing up good points about pets in stores and whatnot, and you're like, hope they behave. But also, pet parents knowing the difference between like emotional support animals, service animals, or just run-of-the-mill animals as well that aren't in those categories.
There's nothing run-of-the-mill about me.
Yeah.
But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, but emotional support animals, really it doesn't take much to get that classification, and I do believe they are protected under the Fair Housing Act for that.
Yes, they are.
But I do not believe that they're federally protected because that's under, I believe, the American Disabilities and Services Act,
yes.
which I definitely support. But that would specifically fall over the service animals. So emotional support animals, they do not require any training to get that certification. They really just sort of fulfill a need for you, whether it's anxiety or other issues. But a service animal, now that one is trained.
Does not. Yeah, you can tell the difference.
You can really tell the difference because they ignore everyone and everything.
Yes, they do.
They focus on you if you have a medical issue.
Yep.
They're there only for you. And yes, they do have the vests on, but I've seen people use that too, and it's not a service dog.
And you can tell. Let's just be honest. We're not fools.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
Just being honest.
Usually, well, I mean, usually if they're barking or
exactly
anything, they're not.
Are they easily distracted? Because, like you said, they will.
Yeah.
I've watched. And I've even watched a dog look up at the owners to say, "Is it okay?" You know.
Yeah.
And so I think that I think it's you just got to be considerate of every situation. I know you love your pet, but you got to be, and it is important that we understand the difference and that we don't make it harder on those people who have service and emotional support animals because you just want to carry Fido with you everywhere because you love Fido.
Well, the other thing too is, again, we definitely understand, we appreciate the human-animal bond.
Yes.
However, you do need to be aware if you're saying your dog is a service animal and they are not, that could actually lead to jail time, fines, probation time.
See?
So it leads to hard issues.
Do
there.
the right thing.
Yeah, so do the right thing and make sure if you're going to label it a service animal, that it is fulfilling a medically required service for you.
Yes.
And that it is professionally trained, which means in general, it shouldn't be barking or growling at anything, and it should have good manners.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So, final thoughts for our viewers.
Final thoughts. We appreciate, again, and understand the human-animal bond. We encourage it. We as veterinarians, we promote the health of the babies because we know, in turn, it's going to promote the health between you guys and the house and, really everything that you stand for. It makes you, comfortable. It teaches you how to love and take care of things. So we definitely promote that, but we want to, definitely promote it in the right way.
In the right way.
In the right way.
Yep.
So make sure
good.
again that you're getting good training. You're getting certifications and stuff for your pet, whether it's classified as emotional support or whether it's classified as a service animal. But yeah, we love having babies at our stores. We love having them out and about, but always make sure to do your best to make sure they have good manners.
Exactly. Good manners will get you. It'll get you indoors. That bad manners won't. That's what
right.
we used to say.
That's right.
Okay. Well, Dr. Nabuki, thank you as always. For more information about Royal Pets, here comes that QR code. And we'll be back right after this.
Hi, I'm Arlene. Welcome to Coffee Speaks and Tea Talks. What's your coffee saying? Whether in for business or just getting away, let Coffee Speaks and Tea Talks be a part of your day. A place for you to come and share thoughts and spirit through a cup of coffee. Come and enjoy with us here at Coffee Speaks and Tea Talks. Coffee Speaks and Tea Talks. Enjoy life one cup at a time.
It's time for Coach Julie and her Fit in 5 workout. Take it away, Coach Julie.
Thanks so much, Rick. I am so excited today to be joining you to talk about one of my favorite pieces of exercise equipment. Yes, I am talking about this little band here. I'm calling it a piece of equipment because I use this to work all types of parts of my body. This I can use for upper body, lower body, and I'm actually going to show you 3 or 4 exercises today that you can start as soon as you get this little band. This is called an exercise band. It's called a resistance band, but it does work your muscles because it provides resistance or extra resistance to you when you use this in the right way. So I'm going to get started and show you a few exercises that are some of my favorites. One of the things that I do like about this is that it travels so well. When you travel, for instance, I was recently out of town for Memorial Day, and I took several of these with me because they have different resistance strengths. So I took a few of these with me, and I was able to work out wherever I am. That's the beauty of this. So I'm going to show you 3 exercises that you can incorporate as soon as you get yours. Here we go. First, I'm starting with upper body. I'm going to start with shoulders and back. All right. So you want to position your hands inside the band just like this, and your shoulders are at shoulder height, and your elbows are straight out. And all you do is pull and release. You pull and release 4 more times like this. 3, 2, and 1. And for extra resistance, you can hold it back for a few seconds and then release it. And you'll feel this in your shoulders. You'll feel this in your upper back. This is a great little exercise. All right, next we're going to work biceps. So I'm going to position the band in my palm like this, one palm, and then the other hand goes down with the thumb at the bottom, and then you're going to pull down a little bit on your thumb so you got resistance there. And then also we're going to start lifting this hand here, up and down, up and down. So this is a twofer on this exercise because you get resistance here in your tricep as you hold down with your thumb, and then you also are working your bicep on this side. So you got triceps over here, biceps over there, and then all you do to change it, change hands, thumb goes here, and then up and down. You see my tricep working on one arm, my bicep working on the other. So like I said, 2 for 1 on that one. All right, up and down, just like that. Working the biceps and the triceps. And now for lower body. So now what I'm gonna do is place the band around my ankles. All right, just like that. Make sure there's some resistance there so your feet are shoulder width apart. And then you're going to take a little dip in your knees if you can. If you can't, that's fine. But I'm taking a little dip just to get a little more resistance. And I'm going to start with exercises for my outer thigh. These are the abductor muscles here, so abductors. And so you're just tapping side to side, just like that. Super easy, but I'm getting resistance here. 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, very good. Now I'm going to work the hamstrings and the glutes. So all I'm doing now is keeping that band around my ankle, and now I'm taking my leg back and down. So now I'm working here and here. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Again, if you want to hold it just to get that extra resistance and then release it. There you have it. 4 exercises, 4 different parts of the body, and you're all good. That was a pretty much almost a full body workout right there. So if you want information on how you can get a band, you can email me at julie@coachjuliewilliamson.com, and I can get you that information. But I'll see you next time.
You know who
5
she
minutes
is.
to
This
fit.
is my favorite guest of all times. It is my daughter, Jessica Ryan Rollins, and she's back for the next 4 weeks. And we're going to be talking about what, Miss Rollins?
Summer plans for your young adult and your high school students.
Okay, so if you are wondering what to do with that child that's getting ready to transition to high school, that young person that's transitioning out of high school, that person that may be coming back home and beyond, the next 4 weeks are for you. I'm really glad you're here, Jessica. Thanks for being with us again. So let's talk about that child who this summer has to figure some things out. Let's go.
Yeah. So when we think about your current high schoolers, right, what are you going to do with them this summer? So a couple of things that I have in mind, some tips and tricks to make sure that they have a successful summer and they can make the most impact. And one of the first things that they can do is think about volunteering or getting a summer job, right? So we don't want them home just bumming on the couch. We don't want that, right? But giving them the opportunity to either earn some extra cash or to volunteer or to do maybe a part-time internship to build some leadership skills, to build some, additional skills in the area of interest for maybe a potential career is something that they can do this summer.
Okay. And I think that that's important because one, they can get some of their community service hours
Mhm.
out of the way. Two, they can build up some money that's going to help towards, especially if they're going to be a senior. There's homecoming, there's prom, there may be other events that they want to go to. So it's not always going in mom and dad's pocket. Mom and dad will not they'll be more likely to give you coin if you have some of your own coin. Maybe you can get them, maybe they can barter and say, hey, what we'll do is we'll do a match for match. Whatever I save, you match. So when it's time for homecoming or whatever the case is, I think that's a great idea. And like you said, getting them off the couch, keeping them active during the summer so that
Right.
when they transition back into school, their minds are still, they're already functioning. You don't have to jumpstart that mind again. That's really great. What's number two, love?
Number two is maybe find a summer program for them to either explore a current interest or even a hobby. So something that, working with students now that I've been talking to is maybe look at a local college to see if there's maybe a class you can take for dual enrollment, or some of the community organizations or colleges have these special summer programs. Either it could be STEM related, it could be arts related, robotics, whatever. There is something for everyone. And they will also be able to gain some new skills, work on maybe a skill set or interest that they have, and then make some additional connections as well.
I think that's important. I think that, and when you were talking about that dual enrollment, I was very proud of some of the young people that came through this year. This one girl, she was actually graduating from college before she would graduate from high school, which I thought was a real hoot. But just think about this. She enters at FSU starting in August as a junior.
Hmm.
So
So you
she's
get to save some time and you get to save some money. And the biggest thing that I tell students, if you decide to do dual enrollment, definitely get some of those credits out of the way. But just know when you enter that university, you're a little bit more accelerated. So they're going to want you to have some decisions and have done some of the work to explore what a potential major can be if you don't already know.
And if you don't know how to do that, you can contact the young lady that's sitting next to me because she will help you get all of that together. That's one of the reasons that we want to do this, because Jessica does a lot of transition coaching. I didn't say that in the introduction. I was thinking about this. I just jumped right into it. But Jessica is a transitions coach. She works in HR. She's worked in the academic, in the field of academics, both in the undergrad and graduate.
Mhm.
She's done a bunch of it. She's been at how many different schools? FSU,
Yeah, three. Yeah, UNC Charlotte and USF. Go Bulls. So I
UC.
feel like my role as a transition coach is to make sure that those students and also their families feel empowered and have clarity and confidence on what's next. And so that could either be in their academics, it can be in their career, but overall life. How do you have a well, managed, balanced, and clear life? So
We'll see you next time.